James, good morning to you. This case in North Dakota is a head scratcher in terms of why. There's investigators tried to piece it together. Why would he do this? There doesn't seem to be a connection between the victims and the defendant. Today, though, we're starting to see why he was arrested and why he was sitting at that defense table. Your thoughts?
Good morning, Ted. Yes, it is a head scratcher in terms of motive, but not in terms of the corroborating evidence that seems to implicate Mr. Isaacs. This morning was an interesting morning. I mean, you have this deputy who basically turns in his own chiropractor because of the similarities in the vehicle. And it was a head scratcher on the cross-examination, because when you have a defense that just takes the deputies through the same facts that they gave when they were testifying on direct, you wonder, well, where is the cross? I watched these opening statements, and in the opening statements, they basically said, look, there's a lot of F-150 Ford vehicles in this area. There are a lot that are the color white. So I thought the cross-examination could have thought a little bit more out of the box and basically used that to say they didn't search for other vehicles. How much dirt is there that in North Dakota when trucks are driving through these roads? I mean, that could go on a car. Do these trucks get rusty in that area as a matter of course? A lot of fodder for cross-examination that I thought was missed in terms of just maybe putting some reasonable doubt in this jury when there's so much corroborating evidence.
Yeah, it was almost as though they were conceding that that was the vehicle, or that it was, a match. The rust spot, or kind of put their head down and just regurgitated what we'd already heard. In terms,
body language is not great on that defense side. I'm not seeing
you could see the winds coming out of the sails. And the defendant himself, too, seemed a little bit more fidgety today than he has throughout. This case is building and building, and now the payoff is starting to come for these jurors here on day 7. Is there enough there, though, now? Because this is basically where they're going to go with it. Next up, we're going to hear from the search of the defendant's home, and there's a couple items there, too, that are going to be tough to get around. Right now, is there enough with just that car in the match? Because I know here we were thinking, ooh, that is, that rust spot does, you can't replicate a rust spot, can you, like that?
Well, again, I think that based on the case that's being presented to the jury, there wasn't enough done to cast reasonable doubt on that. And yet, you can have vehicles that rust in the same area because of the nature of where they are. I'm in Southern California. We don't get a lot of rain, but it rains a lot in North Dakota. It snows a lot in North Dakota. Cars get rusty in North Dakota because of the elements. Cars get muddy because of the elements. And the suggestion that that could only happen to this one vehicle, when it seems as if these police departments did not do a search to see all of the other tenants who may have had issues with this management company. They had evicted 30 different families over the last couple of years. I mean, you lose your home. That's a good reason for motive. I just thought that there was a lot more that you could do as a defense lawyer to at least put some seeds of reasonable doubt into the jury's mind. Although I do agree with you, pretty damning in terms of all the similarities between this truck that is in the surveillance videos and that Mr. Isaac's vehicle. There's no doubt about it, but at least do something to undermine that.
And what are the odds that a sheriff's deputy is also a client of the defendant and says, oh, I recognize that truck? Because that's how this started. The genesis of going to Isaac's was like, hey, that's a lot like my chiropractor's truck. I'm going to go take some pictures. And then his description of going there, and it's this eerie, I saw him in the window and I got scared. They're creating this monster for the jury. And I thought this defendant, this witness, the sheriff's deputy that was also the chiropractic client, was fantastic in just the way he described his, just the manifestation of all of this.
Wonderful demeanor on the stand. really believable. And a small town, right? 22,000 people in this town. So yes, there's a connection between law enforcement and this chiropractor. The only place I thought that they went too far on the direct was about the dog. That it was somehow odd that he was so concerned about his dog, and being a dog lover myself, and thinking, if you have dog lovers on the jury, you could think, well, of course he was concerned about his dog. What's so unusual about that? And I thought that they went a little too far. It reminded me of the movie Psycho, where at the end he's saying, "Look, I wouldn't even hurt a fly. How could they think I'm guilty?" Well, he's concerned about his dog, so why would he kill four people? But again, you're right. I mean, a very effective witness. I mean, no motive, to basically against his chiropractor. His chiropractor was treating him, but he recognized it, and he went in and he got the evidence that's probably going to put his chiropractor in prison for life.
Yeah, and treating his mother too. Yeah, the dog, especially when we found out the dog was actually there in the traffic stop and was out of the vehicle. Of course he's going to be concerned about his dog running around during all this activity. Who wouldn't be?